We have found ourselves living in the most challenging times in long memory. And one of the challenges is not only all the various threats that we face in the COVID virus, in the unstable economy, even in the unstable world political situation, but our sense of powerless in those situations is a great threat to our emotional and psychological well being. Perhaps even to more than that, we feel out of control of our own world, and mostly we feel unlucky. We feel as if we are the victim of random things that happen to us that we have no control over. Well, I've spoken before on this show about how luck is something that is, in fact, much more under our control than we believe. It's definitely not as random as we think. In fact, it is not only in our own control, but it is something that we can create. The show on luck proved very, very popular. And I thought with our sense of powerless that we now face, we need to get a sense of agency back into our lives. We need to feel as if we are the ones who are making things happen. And most importantly, we need to feel that we can create some good stuff in our lives. We can create some luck. So here then is how to create your own luck. We talk a lot about luck in our lives. We use that concept of luck all the time. It infects our language, and it really seems to be something that most of us believe in. Actually, most people even think that astrologers and other people such as myself work with luck all the time, that looking at your astrological charts or looking at your astrological forecasts are all about what your luck is going to be. And in fact, even that phrase, your luck today, is commonly used by newspapers or other publications to try and talk about the good or bad fortune that will happen to you today. Why were people to this very day so concerned with being able to know that? Is because luck is really all about the randomness of life happening to us. I mean, the older you get, I think the more you realize that you're not so in control of what's going on. You have a certain amount of control. You have the ability to make choices and make decisions and all of those things that do give you a certain amount of control in your life. But a lot of it is about reacting and responding to everything else that's going on. And everything else that's going on is what's largely outside of control. Good stuff happens, bad stuff happens to us. So we use astrology and other methods where we try and understand, say in the case of astrology, how time flows or how karma unfolds or various different worldviews to try and explain our relationship with this randomness of the world and some ability to control it. Well, of course, that has fascinated researchers and theorists of every kind, and stepping away from the mystical and occult fields like astrology, which try and predict what luck is all about, psychologists have also been very interested in this, and most notable in studying the subject of luck is Richard Wiseman, who is the author of this book, and today's show is based on his research which he describes in this book. So I do strongly recommend, if you're interested in the subject and if you're interested in improving your luck, that you have a look at what Wiseman says. But I will be giving you his basic principles from this book. The 4 things that he says are really the differences between lucky and unlucky people and how you can improve your luck to put yourself more in the category of lucky people. Because as much as it's random and by chance what happens to us and therefore what our luck is, there seems to be, according to the research, a good deal that we can do to change that. I mean, there are lucky people and unlucky people. And Richard Wiseman wants to know why. What do so-called lucky people do that's different, that makes them lucky? Is it a function of birth and karma? Is it some difference between people? And what we are going to find out is that a lot of it, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it has got to do with our attitude and how we approach the world. This is what Wiseman says on the subject of luck. He says, luck plays a massively significant role throughout many aspects of our lives. Luck has the power to transform our personal and our professional lives. To many, he says, this is a terrifying idea. Most people like to think that they are in control of their future. They try hard to attain certain outcomes and avoid outcomes. But to a large extent, this feeling of control is an illusion. Luck makes a mockery of even our best intentions. It has the power to change everything within seconds, for better or for worse, anytime, any place, and without warning. No wonder we want to do something about it, and wouldn't it be nice to do something about it? So, examples of how luck is utterly transformative include the fact that there are even major discoveries and changes that happen in the world that are really all based on luck. I mean, some famous lucky accidental discoveries include things like penicillin, the contraceptive pill, x-rays, photography itself, artificial sweeteners, maybe that was bad luck, I'm not so sure, Velcro, aspirin. There's so many, especially in medical science and in biological science. And that also says something else about the person who's doing the study. Is there something different about how some people think or do things that helps them seem to be more lucky? I do want to stress that Wiseman is not really talking about a psychic type of change or some magical or psychic or spiritual ingredient that lucky people have. Maybe there is one, who knows, but that is not the territory that Wiseman covers. It's really all about our relationship with what happens around us and opportunities. So to start, he says there are four main differences between lucky people and unlucky people. Firstly, lucky people encounter chance opportunities and people. How is it that lucky people encounter opportunities and unlucky ones don't? Secondly, lucky people make good decisions. What makes them better at making decisions? Does that make a difference perhaps to changing our luck? Thirdly, lucky people's dreams and ambitions tend to come true. Surely that means they've got better karma or something like that than the rest of us. And fourthly, lucky people have the ability to turn bad fortune into good fortune. And that sounds like a magical psychic ability. So we really want to know more. So Wiseman did a lot of research by questionnaires, by setting up tests and experiments, even some of them on TV, getting people to call in about their experiences. And he eventually discovered that there are four principles of luck. And each one of those principles gives us a little bit of insight into how we can change our own luck. So, Wiseman's first principle of luck: lucky people create, notice, and act on chance opportunities. What does that mean? Well, firstly, it's about having an observant relationship with the world. When we tend to think our life is in a certain way, we tend to stick to the same ways of doing things, the same people, the same routines, and so on. And so, not surprisingly, we're going to end up having a lot of the same kinds of experiences. What Wiseman finds is that lucky people tend to build social networks and often expose themselves to new experiences, especially new people. That is key. We make new friends and new acquaintances often. It's about opening yourself to new people and new experiences, because what Wiseman showed is that often opportunities arise because of someone that we met, either directly through that person or indirectly because they exposed us to something else. So by exposing ourselves to new people and new experiences, we tend to create opportunities for ourselves and massively improve the chances that we're going to have a lucky outcome. They also tend to have a more open attitude towards life. When we repeat our same routines and everything over and over again, it's often a sign of anxiety, or it's a way of trying to keep control of our world. If you're already discovering that your world isn't as lucky as you like, then why would you want to keep control of it? Because we feel insecure and we're afraid that something worse will happen. But in the end, that anxiety tends to narrow our focus, and as a result of that, we're not exposed to new things. By taking a relaxed attitude to life, we allow ourselves to deal with new experiences with an open mind, and if we don't like them, maybe we'll try and move on from them or look for a different kind of experiences. What you can hear is that there's an openness to life and a conviction not to act on the anxiety that comes from before, not to narrow ourselves down because of anxiety. So by taking a relaxed attitude towards life, Wiseman said, those people notice more things around them, and as a result they have more opportunities, and as a result of that they're going to get more often better results, and they will begin to experience themselves as luckier more often. And thirdly, that openness to new experiences is something that you can actually control yourself. Go to a new restaurant, take a different route to work, do something you haven't done before. We live in fear. Most importantly, by breaking out of old habits is how we expose ourselves to new opportunities. And in the long run, on average, let's call it half the time, new opportunities are going to expose us to better results, more often better luck. What is the second principle? The second principle might sound a little psychic or airy-fairy, because he says the second principle is that lucky people use intuition and gut feelings to guide them. Now, intuition is often portrayed as some kind of mysterious talent or psychic ability or something like that. But of course, it's something innate to all creatures, and as human beings, we can become conscious of what our intuition is saying. But it's very similar to instinct. Of course, we also animals ourselves, and we have certain instincts, although, evolving intellect and civilization and the whole veneer on top of our animal selves sometimes makes it hard to tell the difference between instinct and conscious behavior and intuition. So intuition is a gut feeling about something. All of us have gut feelings about things, and they are usually right. That's why they exist. They're not some mysterious psychic ability. It is some sum total or something like that of our senses. We pick things up, we see certain things. All of those kind of differences actually feed in and give us more information than we might have actually realized that we had. So if we listen to the intuition, what we're really doing is listening to a more advanced, broader version of our own senses, and we are allowing ourselves to become aware of sensory information that we are receiving that we might not have known, become conscious of, and might not be able to act on. When people use gut feeling to decide, in many ways they are coming from a place of better information than when they use their intellect alone to decide. And Wiseman suggests that you actually use techniques to enhance your experience of intuition. It does not require any psychic development. It requires mostly more quiet in your life. One of the most important techniques suggested, no surprise really, is meditation. We've discussed meditation before on the show. A couple of weeks ago I even gave you a quick method to learn how to meditate in just one show. So if you haven't watched that, go back on YouTube, check it out, and learn to meditate in one half-hour session. You'll be able to apply that, because when dealing with problems, if we consistently work at them rationally, we tend to fall into those old habits. If we leave it for a while, try and let go of it, do something completely different, doing something recreational, fun, relaxing, meditating or finding a quiet place. But anything which can really help clear the mind allows it to come up later. We hear endless stories of people who eventually quit working on a problem and suddenly they wake up in the middle of the night thinking of it in full solution as if it was completely obvious for them. Scientific discovery of the circular benzene molecule being one of the famous of those kind, where the solution comes in a dream. And it looks like a mystical experience. And I'm not saying that those kind of mystical experiences don't exist. I'm pretty sure they do. I'm a Sangoma. I certainly do believe that we get additional information in our dreams that isn't about intuition. But in terms of problem solving, in terms of something that's available to us all, not the specially initiated or maybe the gifted or whatever, it's clearing your mind and letting the problem return later. That's when your intuition will speak, because it gives voice to that little thing that so many of us know, and that is, we know the answer most of the time, but we're so crowded by anxiety and fear of repeating past experiences, or fear of getting it wrong, or fear what other people are going to do or say because of our decisions, that we get too narrow. The third principle of luck is that lucky people have positive expectations about the future, and they use those positive expectations to try and fulfill their hopes and dreams. There it is all about attitude. Wiseman discovered that lucky people actually expect their luck to continue, no matter what happens. So even when something goes wrong, and the unlucky result happens, and the unexpected in that way result happens, lucky people tend to take the attitude, oh, well, that was probably a fluke. I'm sure I'll be luckier next time. Or, well, I guess this is reality. I can't be lucky 100% of the time, so I'm all the more certain I'll be lucky next time because I wasn't so lucky this time. It isn't a question of whether that's some fact about randomness and luck that they know that the rest of us don't know. It's all about that attitude, especially since unlucky people tend to have the opposite attitude. Wiseman showed that unlucky people tend to expect negative results. They often say, that always goes wrong for me. I know this is going to go wrong for me. Sometimes even if they're joking about it, but that belief that you somehow always a victim of unlucky definitely makes you a victim of unlucky. Lucky people, when they have episodes of bad luck, they tend to believe that those will be very short-lived, that it'll be over soon. I'm sure something better will follow. So that positive attitude is very powerful. It actually changes how we experience things. Research shows that our expectations in anything affect hugely the outcome of that thing. So in other words, people who expect a good result often get a good result because they act more effectively. And that's what's key about this point, is that people who expect good results tend to act more effectively. Simple fact is that people who believe that they won't get serious diseases tend to go to the doctor and listen to health advice, rather than people who believe that their health depends on luck. So people who believe their health depends on luck never get that officially checked, often suffer from problems, and then think, yes, they're unlucky. Why would I even bother to go to the doctor? I know me, I'm going to get it. So it's those kind of attitudes that actually change the outcomes. I mean, you can even look at how people deal with bad luck itself. If you deal with bad luck by avoiding walking under ladders, it's very unlikely that that action is going to change the outcome of your experiences. Whereas if you believe that you've had an unlucky experience, so you change what you do that led to that unlucky experience, or you try something different, you definitely increase the likelihood that you're going to have a different result. Quite key and quite important. One of the major expectations that lucky people have is that they tend to expect that their interactions with new people will always have a good result. Meeting someone for that interview, it's going to go well. So whenever there's the chance of a new person, it's always the expectation, this is going to work for me. Change your expectations, you change what you observe, you change how you respond, you change your strategies,
It isn't magic. That all changes your luck. Finally, the fourth principle that Wiseman discovered, that what makes some people luckier than others, is that lucky people turn bad fortune into good fortune. Again, without using magic. Not so hard to do. So there are essentially four things that lucky people do to turn bad fortune into good fortune. One of them is that they tend to look at the positive side of bad experiences. It can make such a big difference, and it's very consistent with how we experience bad experiences. That old cliche of whether people see things from a positive, glass is half full point of view, or negative, glass is half empty point of view. Approaching everything that way and seeing it as lucky is what keeps people having an open mind. So, for example, if you have, say you have a car accident and you get injured, you break a leg, the unlucky person is saying, oh my gosh, I broke my leg, this is terrible, now I can't walk, and for all I know, I'm now going to have other kinds of complications, because especially since that's what usually happens to me. Whereas the lucky person is saying, I can't believe that all that happened is I broke my leg, I'm so lucky I'm alive, that's really given me a whole new attitude on life, and just takes the same event from an altogether different point of view. That changes outcomes because it changes attitudes. Secondly, in turning bad fortune into good fortune, lucky people tend to think that things turn out for the best. Sometimes using that expression, which is a little kind of mystical, I guess, itself, and that is that there must have been a good reason for this. So whatever the reason is, we really mean there will be a good outcome for that. And the expectation that despite everything, in the long run there's going to be a better outcome, is that expectation that we often believe there must be some kind of good reason for this. So whether you're religiously or spiritually inclined and you think about it as there's a good reason why something happens, or if your attitude is simply, I know that things tend to work out as opportunities in the end, because seeing things as opportunities is mostly what makes people lucky and successful. So it's the same story of seeing something as probably there's a good reason for that in the end. There's always space to turn something into a more positive experience. So thirdly, changing the experience of bad into good is that they don't dwell on bad luck, and they tend to shift it into good luck. But that not dwelling on bad luck is important, and is another reason why we can use meditation or something like meditation to change the outcome. And finally, they take constructive steps to prevent the same thing repeating again. So when bad luck happens, they don't do things like avoid black cats and walking under ladders. They do things in response to what went wrong to try and ensure that that doesn't happen again. Sounds obvious, but it illustrates the point that superstition doesn't have anything to do with luck. In fact, what Wiseman finds statistically is that people who are superstitious tend to be self-describe as more unlucky than lucky. So superstition is associated with bad luck, and it's associated with that bad luck because it limits the responses that people have to situations and tends to limit them to highly ineffective responses. Avoiding ladders, throwing salt over shoulders, avoiding black cats, all of those things clearly don't have any effect in the world, and they're a very simplistic way of thinking about the world. Superstition, when there's no reason or any connection between the one event and the believed outcome, such as the walking under ladders. So effective action changes the outcome. Everything is what it is. It's random. It's in fact neither good nor bad. It is your choice as to whether you see it as good or bad. Lucky people make the choice to see things as positive, to change things into positive, to adopt the new. So I'll remind you of those 4 points one more time. What is it that makes a person lucky and changes their bad luck into good? Point number 1, they create, notice, and act on chance opportunities. Point number 2, they listen to their intuition and their gut feeling. Point number 3, they have positive expectations about the future and that they will fulfill their hopes and ambitions and dreams. And point number 4, they would take action to change bad fortune into good fortune. All of those are simple actions that you can start working on today and see your luck change overnight.
The slightest amount makes the hugest difference. And once you feel you're in control of your own life again, or at least some of it, we're able to face the many challenges that surround us. Hopefully, there won't be too many for you, and you'll have a wonderful holiday weekend. All the best for that, and I will see you here again next week at the same time.